hope you all had a Thanksgiving, a great Thanksgiving. I had a very blessed one, although it really didn't seem like it yesterday morning. The title of this sermon is called Faith, Hope, and Time. Now, faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And that's in Hebrews 11, verse 1. So, it's interesting. I've often puzzled that, and it makes so much sense. It's the evidence of things hoped for. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I've really come to realize how important that word hoped for is. We hope for things that we can't see the evidence of it right now. So, the biblical hope is very different from natural hope, from worldly hope. Right? Worldly hope, it's wishful, it's nice. Gee, I really hope that we have a nice day tomorrow, right? It doesn't take any faith, it doesn't take any substance, and it takes no character, right? Biblical hope is different. It's grounded in faith. It's gritty, it's tough, and it's enduring. And I found all about that yesterday. Hope and faith are completely interconnected. You may think you have faith, but if you don't have hope, then do you really have faith? If you really have faith in the promises that God has given us, you're going to have hope. You're going to have this hope which looks forward to tomorrow. You're going to have this hope which gives you an excitement, right? One of the things I have learned about Christianity and why I love being a Christian so much is I love to see how God is going to bail me out of things that I got myself into. I get myself into trouble a lot. And I'm like, God, I don't know how you're going to do this, but I know you're going to get me out of this. And he does. So I start hoping for the future. And not in my own ability. I'm really good at breaking stuff. Not so good at fixing stuff. So I'm like, God, I know you're going to fix this. I don't know how, but I know you will. So here's a great analogy for hope. So worldly hope is like hoping that you've won the lottery. Biblical hope is knowing you've won the lottery, even though it hasn't been drawn yet, because you know Jesus is the one who's picking the numbers. So when we know that we know it's all going to be okay, it starts to take the pressure off. It starts to make things okay. It's all going to be fine. Our hope is not dependent on current circumstances, but on God's faithfulness, his love, and his power to bring about his future plans for humanity and creation, right? So we're not dependent on what's going on around us. In fact, he wants to isolate us. He says we're meant to be in the world, but not of the world. And a way to look at that is that we're not letting current circumstances affect us emotionally. Faith, right? So let's talk a little bit about faith. The Bible is all about faith. If we look at Abraham, Paul says that Abraham's righteousness is a credit to him because of his faithfulness, right? Because he was faithful to God. So, and that goes on and on and on. But our foundation, we are saved by grace through faith, right? We absolutely have to have faith. Now, here's a couple examples of people who didn't have faith. We have Adam and Eve, right? They ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If they had truly had faith in what God said, do not eat or you will surely die, they wouldn't have eaten, right? If some guy comes up to me and says, here, have some meth and some other drugs which will ruin your life forever, there's no temptation there. Satan could only tempt Adam and Eve because they didn't believe God's word. They didn't believe he would really keep his promise, right? Lack of faith can condemn you to a horrible life. Another person who didn't have faith is, and this is a great story, is found in John 20. It's the end of the Gospel of John. It's after that Jesus has been resurrected. And it's chapter 20, verses 24 to 29. It's the story of doubting Thomas. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples were saying to him, we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see in his hands the imprint of the nails, and put my finger in the place of those nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. That's some pretty strong disbelief, right? After 8 days, his disciples were again inside and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors having been shut, and stood in their midst and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach here with your finger and see my hands. Reach here with your hand and put it into my side. And do not be unbelieving, but believing." Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Because you have seen me, have you believed? Blessed are they who do not see and yet believed." That's tough, right? Jesus is going, "Here, stick your finger in the hole in my hand. Come on, stick it in. Come on. I want you to be absolutely 100% positive I was resurrected," right? He wants to counter Thomas's disbelief completely. So what does Jesus mean by blessed are those who do not see and yet believed? Does that mean that Thomas is condemned to a lower place in heaven? He doesn't get the corner office with a secretary in a nice building, right? No, it's actually interesting because Thomas, after he saw and believed, it is believed that he went off to India, where he set up churches and he evangelized and was eventually martyred for his faith. I believe his reward was great in heaven. What I strongly believe is that Jesus is talking about the quality of life right here and now, which is affected by our faith. Had Thomas had faith those 8 days between Jesus appearing and reappearing, his life would have been markedly different. I'm sure those days were no fun at all, filled with doubt and anxiety, overthinking everything, not understanding and just being perplexed and maybe even having anxiety. Was he really a believer? Did he belong with these people? The fear robbed him of the joy he could have had, the hope he could have had. He could have had such excitement going, "Oh, Jesus appeared to them. I'm sure he's going to come back again." He could have had an anticipation sort of like a little child has before Christmas. But no, it was filled with conflict and doubt.